spoons.
So, to start on each episode, we do a checklist.
Oh, hello.
And the first thing on the checklist is spoons. How many spoons do you have?
I have 5 spoons and I started the day with 8 spoons. I'm a little bit lower on spoons because change and making things up as we go along. But actually, I'm pretty good. Yesterday was a complete mess, but I'll come on to that in a bit because we're talking about change. But you know what? Right now, I'm pretty damn good. How about you, Robin?
I've got 6 spoons.
6? Nice.
Spoons is something that came from the disability movement, and it's a way of measuring energy. And each person will wake up with a certain amount of spoons, and some things will help you get more spoons, and some things will cost spoons.
And when you run out of spoons, that's the end of your day. You're really going to struggle. So, for example, if I wake up with only 4 spoons, I can't do a 5-spoon activity, no matter how much I want to, because it will cause a meltdown or a shutdown or just a really bad thing. But I've had support to get here today. The ride here was lovely, so it only took a couple of spoons. So of the 8 spoons I started with this morning, I've still got 5, which is pretty awesome.
And we've had Twixes.
We love Twixes.
Other chocolates are available.
Other chocolates are available. This is not the opinion of the BBC.
What does 5 spoons look like?
What does 5 spoons look like?
Okay, what does it feel like in your...
Bubbly, bouncy, and let's see, what's a good 5-spoon activity? About 3.5 to 4 hours of coding takes 5 spoons. Reading about 2 or 3 chapters of a reasonably complex book takes about 5 spoons. A shower, a shave, going to the loo takes about 2 spoons, so I could have 2 showers, shave twice, and go to the loo twice.
Okay, so 2 spoons is your morning getting ready for the day.
Yeah, well, what I do is I do the shower and the shave the night before, so it comes out of the day before's spoons, and then that's how I make sure I've got enough spoons for the podcast, as I try and move as much as possible to the day before and the day after.
Can you regain spoons?
Sort of. If I stop and hug Lion, or have a nap, or do what I did yesterday, which was to basically curl up in a ball and hide for several hours, that can really help me regain spoons. The other thing that can help me regain spoons is doing things that are really super duper structured. So I have audiobooks that I've listened to 100 times before. If I go and hide and listen to A Short History of Nearly Everything by Bill Bryson, I can pick it up anywhere in the book. I know it word for word. That's really structured. Takes an hour, and it really helps me recharge, get back on balance, and then be ready to do more things.
So now I need to...
There are some people who end up with really successful masks. The upside of that is there's a certain pattern for a lot of autistic people where they have a successful mask for 10 or 15 years and they earn enough money to, say, buy a house or set themselves up financially. And then just at their step where they're going to become the most senior person in their job or something, suddenly the burnout hits, the mask drops, and they're suddenly dealing with a level of impairment that seems to come completely out of nowhere. It's a very, very, very common path, I'm sorry to say.
Oh my God, Jamie, this is crazy. You are describing things that have happened to me.
Funnily enough, for me, the way that monotropism has affected my life the most is in how I think about myself and how I think about my time and how I use it. And I've started doing this thing that we call tunnels, not tasks. So the basic idea is that most folks focus around tasks and time. So do this at said time or this by certain time. My way of kind of working through things is all around flow and getting into what we call these long, flowy attention tunnels. And that's kind of how I've been reorganising my life around. So, for example, when I get started at the start of the day, I don't have a to-do list anymore. I've actually kind of rejected the idea of being organised in a traditional sense because it didn't do anything for me. It just made me really stressed. So instead, I kind of get up and I focus my day on how to get in and out of tunnels. So I get into my first tunnel of the day, maybe at my desk, and I get some stuff done there. And as soon as I got the momentum and the flow and I've got all the speed, my brain will work out what thing I need to do. I don't actually need to wake up with a specific list of things. And oh my God, I've got lots and lots and lots of notes here, but it's been one of the highlights of the last few years and one of the best things to come out of my injury. So thank you. I get a lot of meltdowns or shutdowns or other difficult things when my autonomy is limited, where there is something I have to do or I'm being forced to do something or there's something I can't escape, because I know whether I've got energy for it or not. And if I don't have energy to handle a big demand, I know that my body's going to take days or even weeks to recover. So maybe it'd be a little bit like saying to a neurotypical person, oh, that's fine, you can have your paycheck, but it's currently on top of Ben Nevis. Once you go and get it from the top of Ben Nevis, of course you can have it. And you're sat there going, but I can't climb Ben Nevis today, but I need to buy food and pay the mortgage. Well, your paycheck is just there, go and get it. I don't understand why it's so hard. Those sorts of situations where neurotypical people are applying pressure and demands that they don't understand we can't meet, that's like ideal meltdown territory for me.
Are you okay to do
It's
this?
fine, yeah.
You sure?
So long as you don't decide that I can't have Henry because he makes sound.
When was the last time you had a meltdown?
In May or June, when I got the PIP letter, so everybody that is on disability living allowance is being moved on to personal independent payment. You're not really being moved on to it. You're having to apply for it because disability living allowance stops existing. I've got multiple disabilities because I have cerebral palsy and autism and the visual stuff. And when I got the letter, I was really freaked out by it because I've heard so many horror stories about people's experiences, and I was worried that they might not understand that, like, there's a lot of things I can do for myself, but there's a lot of things I really can't do for myself reliably. I do get very fatigued, and it can happen quite quickly. The thing about fatigue is that, you know, it's something that builds up over time, so I was just worried that they wouldn't understand, and I had a meltdown. And that's probably the first one in years.
And so let me guess a little bit. Is part of that because it's a big unknown thing, you can't avoid it, it's going to demand energy?
Well, I think the uncertainty was a big thing, like not knowing what was going to happen, but also that I catastrophised and was like, well, I might not have any money, which obviously wouldn't actually be true. But I was just you know, was frightened.
Waited for about 3 months. I'd really waited until things had got really, really bad in the pandemic to get help, because it's something I'd been putting off for years and years.
That's something really common. I know a lot of people who are going through the diagnostic process for ADHD or being autistic because the pandemic has just broken a lot of their coping mechanisms.
Completely.
So what was mildly under control has now become a massive problem for them.
I think have someone to very calmly help you when things go wrong, because like Jamie, I find it really difficult if there's a problem. I just get really stuck. I mean, I have that anyway, but I mean, it's even worse now. So I have to try and do things that will avoid any kind of in-the-moment problem solving. And I suspect that many autistic people find the same thing. So I think it's important that people that are supporting an autistic person, that they're really calm, and you know that they know that if there's an autistic person in their life that's getting very distressed by a change or a problem, that not to take that distress personally, because it's probably nothing to do with them, and it's more that the person is just really struggling. And if you just stay calm and prompt the person to overcome the problem, rather than thinking, oh, you should just be able to deal with this because you're however old, because that's not very helpful.
It's full of treacle, and even if people are talking English at me, I can be staring at them, hearing every word and just having no idea what it means. It's very, very, very scary, and that's why shutdowns can sometimes cause panic attacks.
Your picture, I mean, any interaction for me with another human being, even my wife, who I have a bond like I've never believed was possible with, is tiring, largely because I'm hypervigilant the whole time I'm with her, thinking ahead what I'm going to say, reviewing what I have just said, watching her face to make sure I haven't said something wrong. And as a result, I pretty much need as much recovery time after being with her or any other human as I spend with them. If I'm with you half an hour, I'm going to go off and recover for half an hour.
Kind of ironic, because 80% of my life is spent in the situations where I'm verbal. So one of the reasons why this podcast works is that I've known all of you for probably best part of 10 years. You know, I'm literally having a podcast talking to friends. So that's nice and easy. And when I'm at home, it's friends who are visiting or people that I know really well. So, and I've generally got lots of energy, so my speech is good. But if I go into town and it's busy and it's loud and it's bright and I'm very focused on not walking into traffic, not getting lost, you know, not getting confused or muddled, my speech is one of the first things that I start to struggle with. So that's why I end up defaulting to using the AAC in the cafe, because it's a much better use of energy than trying to fight my speech when I may or may not be able to effectively communicate with words. Does that answer the question at all?
Yeah. So
If I had to prepare a meal every day, an evening meal, I probably wouldn't have the energy left to work and do the things I do well. So that's one of the reasons why we have support for it, because they can do in 10 minutes what will take me 45 minutes and ruin me for the rest of the day.
yeah,
A Holocene extinction. When we began, our feet trod lightly. Bare upon the earth, we were weightless. Travelling, allowing resurgence and regrowth, leaving enough. Reverence. Forging through millennia, we kept on adding endless weight, leadening heaviness, leaving deep and lasting indentations, sending shockwaves, eliminating. Cruelty, cavernous greed, no impediment, hands and feet becoming industrial monsters, spewing toxicity, sickening, deafening, echoing arrows, piercing. Now thundering, trampling boundlessly, decimating pathways once bountiful, we watch helplessly, numb, aching, hollow, haunting cries to empty spaces, waiting. Stop. I hear hope, purposefully striding, footsteps pleading necessary action, great minds whirring, channeling change, demanding respectfully our weight to lessen. We want birdsong, abundant, fluttering, humming no more poison destruction. Growing for growth, it has to end. Will my generation see the rightful rising?
Is where a diagnosis can be really useful. So putting aside for a minute the politics side of it, having a diagnosis helps give people a bit more power, because having a disability is a protected characteristic, there are laws in place, blah, 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 blah. So when sometimes, and this is something that I've experienced a lot, if I express something as a personal preference, people treat it as a want. But when I explain something and I tie it back to the autism diagnosis from the medical perspective, they understand that it's a need. And that's a subtle difference between what's a want and what's a need. And a lot of people after their diagnosis gain that confidence, as you exactly have just described, to relay their needs, because internally we've started to understand that actually there's a bigger thing here. It's not just a trivial want. It's not a nice to have. This is actually something important. And if we can talk to other people about it and we can feel that they're going to listen and respect us, then we will talk about it. Otherwise, you just kind of end up, like you were saying, sort of bouncing along, doing your best, but not really saying what you're thinking because you don't know how people will respond, or if they'll respond well or judge you or whatnot.